Hello, YouTube. All right, you know the drill. Let's go live on Instagram. Forgot to add a title. And then I've just got something inspiring I want to talk about. All right, let's make sure this goes live and it works. Hello, Instagram. All right, let's get into it. Again, we have got all three audiences. We've got Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So this morning it is 9:17 a.m. for me. I just did two back-to-back podcast episodes for the Jessica Pinili podcast. So number one, stay tuned for those because they were incredible. One was really around understanding subconsciously our subconscious, human design, the changes as we move into the age of Aquarius, everything that is happening, what we can do as individuals to capitalize on this change. And then big shifting gears, the second podcast episode was someone who is a grief guide, and we spoke all things grief. And just on the back of these two conversations, something that I was like, you know what, I'm going to go live now is what are you doing right now in your life? Don't worry about what has happened, the choices you have made, but like, what are you doing right now as you are watching this, wherever you're watching this, or wherever you're listening to this, to create the most inspiring life that you possibly can? I believe, and when I do podcasts episodes, I truly, I don't know if anyone else does this. So I've been, just a bit of backstory. I've been interviewing so many guests for the podcast this year, and it was one of my intentions to do to get a lot of guests on. Not just what I've been doing over the past couple of years is like every so often I'll get on a guest, but I've actively been getting on guests. And my point of difference was I would put that over on threads and I would say, this is kind of the topics that I'm looking for. This is what I want to speak about. These are the types of people I want to interview. And honestly, I would just go by intuition, by feel, by what someone typed. You don't necessarily have to have like all these credentials or whatever it may be. But I kind of just like felt into the energy and intuitively, like, who am I actually relating to? Now, keeping in mind, for across both of these two threads over the year, there has been like 1,000 comments between them. So, yes, have I seen every single comment? No. But I truly have believed this whole year in interviewing people and the topics I've discussed on the podcast that I was meant to speak to these people at this point in time. And something that has become so prevalent in listening to this and listening to stories and interviewing these people and having a range of topics. I mean, if you have watched or listened, I mean, it's on my YouTube channel, but either my podcast this year, you would know we have discussed a range of topics, but something that has been prevalent is that we are all here to do incredible things. We are all here to insanely live an insane life, an inspiring life. Something I live by, something I share with my clients is like, make sure you are choosing the path. You know, people say choose the path of least resistance. I want you to choose the path that has the most inspiration, the things that are tapping in, the things that emotionally, mentally, spiritually you are resonating with, and they feel inspiring. They may not make sense. For me, when I started this business 5.5 years ago, to be a coach mentor online, it was really unheard of. There were people like, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Oprah with podcasts. Like I started the podcast in 2017, but I had this feeling, I had this nudge. I feel that part of our human experience here, like our spirits coming to have this human experience, is to really understand the relationship we have with ourselves and be able to listen to that. I think we spend so much time in this world where we are listening to everyone else. We're listening to everything else, what's right, what's wrong, what we should do, where we should go, the steps we take. I mean, when I was 17 and I was about to graduate, I was fed, you go to university, you get a degree, you get a 9 to 5 corporate job, you get a mortgage, you get married, you have kids. That's what I was fed. That's what I genuinely believed. Now, I said this many times before. If you have a corporate, like my partner is an engineer, he has a 9 to 5 job. So I'm never going to be someone who is, there's people on the internet that's like, if you're working that, you're wasting your life. We need professions like engineers, doctors, nurses, etc. But if you are someone, and if that going again, it's the same thing. Don't just do that because you think that's the right thing. My partner, he's a great example. He loves being an engineer. He's a mechanical engineer. He's doing project management now. He loves that. It inspires him. Are there days where he can't be bothered? Yeah, but in my business, there's days I can't be bothered as well. So if you are doing one of these professions and it truly inspires you, like you've always wanted to be a nurse, and that's like what lights you up. And yes, you have hard days and you do shift work, but it truly like in your soul and inspires you, do that, right? So I just want to preface that about like 9 to 5 corporate jobs. But overall, what I want to say is when I was, graduating year 12, I got fed that I had to do a certain I had to move in a certain way. I had to choose certain things. And over the past few years, it's been like this undoing. And this is what I truly believe our spirits have come here in human form to experience as we almost undo everything. And it's the undoing of our conditioning to actually figure out who we truly are. And unfortunately, most people go their entire lives and they're on their deathbed and they wish that they had more experiences. They wish that they traveled more. They wish, I saw something recently and it was asking people on their deathbeds, like, what do you regret not doing? And a lot of it is, traveling. But one that I was like, this is so interesting. It gave me a different perspective is a lot of these older people wish that they had gone to more concerts and to seeing the people that they love to perform, their favorite artists perform more. So I'm a big advocate for that. I love that, but it gave me a different perspective. Like interesting, right? Putting that into the genre of traveling. But where I'm getting with this is so many people go most of their life, majority of people as sheep, and they just go through the motions. They go through the motions. They do things because they think they have to. And that is the part that I felt that I was heading down. And I started to get calls for different things if you don't know, before this business, I was in the fitness industry for about 7.5 years. I actually went to university and I graduated with 2 double degrees. I actually love learning overall. Like, honestly, if I found something inspiring that fits into what I'm doing, I would probably go back to uni. So, again, yeah, is there these perceptions of uni and these corporations? Yeah, but I love studying. Finished with a double degree. I majored in human resources, majored in writing. I also did a minor in French, right? And I had opportunities to go for interviews to have a 9 to 5 job. My dad has worked in mining since before I was born. Like I had this like easy step into the corporate world, into what I got qualified in. And I kept having this desire to not even desire. I started to get into the gym and probably the second last year of uni. And I just loved it. It was inspiring to me. It was something where I was like, this is so fulfilling to me. Like, I love it. And I kept getting this call, and this is what I'm sharing with you. It kept coming up like, do something with this, or you need to do more. Like, this just isn't just like you're trying to be healthy or you're trying to hit new PBs. Like, this is something more deep within your soul. And I think we all get that, but we need to develop, and this is why I have this business. We need to develop the relationship we have with ourselves, which develops our intuition to listen to this and to trust ourselves enough to listen to it. And I took the leap. Instead of going the safe path and the path that I got qualified for from university of a 9 to 5 corporate job in human resources, I instead was like, you know what? Yeah, I've spent, and I felt shame. I was like, I've spent 4 years, I've graduated with 2 degrees, and what? Now I'm going to go work in the fitness industry. Back then, it kind of felt like, oh, I'm stepping down. I'm not doing the most. And as I'm talking across all platforms, let me know if you have questions. But I followed that. I followed this feeling that I knew, and I tapped in and I trusted myself enough. Like, this isn't just you love fitness now, this is something deeper. And I went into that for nearly 7 years and I fell in love with that. I fell in love with the process, but that led me to where I am now. Because towards the end, even though I became a fitness manager. I was still doing PT on the side and I attracted bosses that micromanage. Like I became very, very unhappy, but I became intuitively disconnected from that part. But in the background, what I can see is I started to fall into loving personal development and loving personal growth and learning more about myself and learning, oh, okay, like I've emphasized so much of your physical health, which is a big part. I still advocate, I still go to the gym every single day. But there's this whole other like spiritual, emotional, and I've always been from younger, like spiritual. spiritual inclined, so it wasn't something new, but I was like I love this. I'm feeling the same feeling as I was back when I had to decide, am I going to get a corporate job or am I going to go into the fitness world? And I decided to follow that. And I would, and it took a while. If I look back, it probably took, I mean, I say it took too long, but everything happens as it's meant to. But I followed that. And like I said, 5.5 years ago in 2019, I quit my job. I moved to Bali. I started this business. No one had a business yeah, there were bits and pieces. But now we can go on Instagram. It's full of coaches. It's full of mentors. It's full of consultants, right? It's all of this. There was none of that. There was absolutely none of that. I had nothing to go off, but I'm also like, I am feeling how I did. I feel inspired to share these things. And I just started to share things. I moved to Bali and I was like, oh, one of my values, like I'd always said, right? I want to be able to be my own boss. I've been saying I wanted to be my own boss since I was 10. However, I didn't know what that was going to look like. I had no concept of that. But I wanted to be my own boss because I wanted to be able to work in bed in my pajamas and I wanted to be able to travel whenever I wanted. Those become like very, very prevalent values of mine. And even in the fitness industry, doing that, it was like, okay, kind of my own boss, but also I feel like I'm capping myself like financially and mentally, and there's more to this. Anyway, I go to Bali. I see that, wow, people do work on their laptops. People are, yes, there's like, the lifestyle, life to live, and all of that. And I can see I have a couple of questions. I'm getting to them in a moment. Um, the beach lifestyle, Wi-Fi lifestyle, but I was like, no, there's generally people who are traveling, they're making money, they can do this. And so I had no idea. I had no idea of what I was doing. And I started a business. I just started showing up. I was first a confidence coach because that's what I knew really, really well from my personal training days. And I would find in the last year and a half, I would do like a personal training session, like a one on one, and I would have to schedule more time after that because I was like, I want to share with them, the books I'm reading, the journaling prompts I'm using. I want to share with them like the meditations I'm trying. I knew there was something bigger towards this and something I was doing. And so I followed that and it inspired me. And I think like just to for this section, and I'm going to look at what everyone's typing to round this off is like truly, and this is what roots in all of my work I do with my clients, myself, I share with my friends, I share with my loved ones. You need to follow not the path of least resistance, the path of most inspiration. Deep down, and especially you're probably watching this and viewing this, you do some type of personal growth work, right? Like whatever it is. But if you don't have a solid relationship with yourself, and I don't mean it needs to be perfect, like you never waver, but if you don't have self-trust, you can't back yourself. If you can't back yourself, what do you have? And this is the foundation. So my methodology, woman mastery methodology, the foundation of that, self-trust, which is building a relationship with yourself. You need to be able to have these conversations with yourself and know that, okay, well, I've been working as a lawyer and now I'm feeling so inspired by painting the past couple of years. Like you can't let go of it. You need to follow that path. I just got promoted at my corporate job, have been on a huge healing journey the past few years. Sometimes I wonder if I could be happier if I left and primarily focused on myself. It's hard. It's hard. Look, I'm not going to sit here and be, I know there's a lot out there that is like, just take the leap and take the risk and go. When I quit my job and moved to Bali, right, I had $700 in savings that was going to the first villa. But what I'm going to say in that, I knew that if I failed, that I could go back home at the time was Perth, go back home to Perth, Western Australia, and I could go and live with my dad for a bit, find another personal training job, and get back on my feet, right? So I believe in following what's inspiring me, and I'm going to go into in relation to this question. Yes. But I do not believe like, oh my God, okay, like I have no plan whatsoever. I have nothing. I can't, no one to not that I was relying on my dad, he wasn't going to give me money, but it's like I knew I wasn't going to be homeless. I knew I could fly back. I knew I could be in his house. I knew that I could have the space and capacity to be supported by him, to have a home, a roof over my head, and look for a job if I needed to do that, right? So again, don't be making haste decisions and think like, fuck it, I'm just going to quit it all and go all in. But it's now back to this question, have been on a huge journey, healing journey, you've been promoted, you corporate, will you be happy if you left? If you're already asking yourself questions, it's not necessarily an outstanding yes, but there is a call for you to think bigger in what you're doing, right? And this is how, when we see some type of reward, what happens is when we have subconscious conditioning, and this is the work that I do, right? Is everything that you are experiencing in your life right now, all your reality, all of your results. I don't care if you think that you try and think the most positively, or you think every day, like, I will be a millionaire. If at the root, subconsciously, you have conditioning that is going to keep you in the cycles that you keep repeating, that is what you need to start with, right? So start to look at, in regards to this question, is like, okay, you got promoted at your corporate job, you're feeling like, would I be happier if I just focused on myself? Start to think like, what is your reality and what is not inspiring? Number one, the first thing to look at, but also your subconscious will seek familiar patterns, but it will see the things that you are attracting as rewards because it's seeking it out, and you will stay in that if you feel like you're being rewarded. For example, a part of you may be like, I know that I need to move on from this corporate job, or I need to try something else. But then your subconscious mind goes, oh, no, 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 no. And remember, this is all subconscious. It goes, no, 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 that's too, like, we can't quit, or we can't look for another job, we can't do something different because that's scary, and what if we fail, and what is your mom going to say, or what is your best friend going to say? So anyway, let's put you in a position where it's too scared, let's work harder. Oh, you've just attracted a promotion. Then consciously and subconsciously, what happens is, oh, see, I'm getting rewarded for what I'm currently doing, I'm going to stay in this. And this is where most people are. I even see it in businesses. It's not just like corporate world, right? It's businesses. It's like they want a certain type of client, or they want to pivot their business, but they keep doing things that gets the same result. And it's like a little dopamine hit. In the work I do, we don't talk in dopamine hits. We do things for long-term growth, right? Can it feel like a longer journey? Absolutely, but it's long-term growth. So my question for everyone, not just this in relation to this question, but is, if you are in a position in life where you are already thinking, would I be happier if I didn't do this, or is there something better? The answer is probably yes. It's not always the case, but it's probably yes. And it is up to you to do a deep dive into understanding, who am I and what am I doing? What inspires me the most? And what am I doing to tap into that inspiration? It gets to be like that. Is it easy? Am I going to bullshit you and say the moment you decide, oh, I'm going to be my most inspired self, it's easy? No, of course not. But this is where it comes into programming yourself to be in alignment. I did a was real last night. I did a reel, and a lot of people will try and manifest all of the things and manifest a different reality. But if you subconsciously, your subconscious identity is not in alignment with that reality, like it doesn't match up, you don't see yourself like, if you see yourself as the corporate woman, or who just got promoted, who is making this money, and but you want to see yourself as, just for example, as someone who, you love painting and nature, and you want to do commissioned paintings and build a social media from that, like, that's what you want, this is who you are. If you continue to see yourself like every day as this person instead of this person, as for an example, this is the result you're going to get. So it doesn't matter if consciously you're saying, oh my god, like, I know my paintings are good, and I live a life of abundance, and I live a life where people are paying me for my paintings. But if consciously you see yourself, no, the only way to make money is to be in a corporate job. The only way to succeed in this world is to get promotions. The only way that my parents respect me is if I stay in a corporate job. If you, at the root, unconsciously see yourself as that, this is what you're going to do. So for everyone overall, the best thing that you can start with is like, what is my programming? Like, what do I truly believe? Because conscious beliefs versus subconscious beliefs are very, very different. Now, from that and looking at that, I got a question. What were you like before, and what are you like now in regards to what? Can you give some context if you're still on line? Sorry, I just saw that question. Um, but I think, one thing that I've learned over this period, and coming from the podcast episodes that I hosted this morning, is the most You are going to be your most successful and abundant self when you are able to listen to what you fully need, when you are able to lean into everything where it doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense for me to quit my stable job, to move to another country, and to start a business. Sounded cool, but it didn't make sense to me to do that. It didn't make sense for me to 2 years ago shut down my most profitable group coaching program in my business. Why would that make sense? Right? Most people tell you, oh my God, it's the most profitable. You better keep it running, running, running. You know why? It didn't inspire me anymore. I still stand behind all of those trainings and everything I taught, but in the way that it was taught, in the way that I delivered it, it was different to how I deliver my methodologies now. And so it wasn't inspiring. And I felt this push pull like, okay, you have such a human 3D physical experience. Like, okay, it's bringing in money, it's profitable in my business. But the spiritual side of me was like, this is not fulfilling you. This is inspiring you. Why are you doing this? And this is the push and pull dynamic that most people get in between what they think should be right, what's accepted in society, what their parents accept versus, oh, this is what my soul is yearning for. This is what I really want to do. And, it's these decisions, it's the things that don't make sense. It's the things that you keep like fixating on, the things that you keep doing. Before I started my podcast, the Jessica Pinili podcast, I kept thinking about it again. I started at like the end of 2017, started 2018. No one had a podcast. It was like literally again, like Tony Robbins, Oprah, um, what's his name? I've gone blank. But you know all the OGs of podcasting. It was like everyone, every man and his dog has a podcast right now. Every man and his dog has this microphone, right? It wasn't a thing. But a part of me was like, Jazz, like you need to share your voice in another platform. Do this. It made no sense. I didn't even know what to do. I had to figure it out all on my own. There was barely any information on like Google on like there is now. There was no chat GPT, right? That's actually crazy when I look back because I'm sure a lot of us, if we're using those modalities, it's like, all right, like how right now I could write on ChatGPT. How do I start a podcast? I'm a beginner. Tell me everything from microphone to setting it up, your RSS feed, all of this. But isn't that insane? Right? Like it made no sense. And so what I'm sharing with you and what I want you to take away from this live is like as you are progressing in life, as you are building yourself, are you actually coming home to yourself? Are you actually doing the things that you love and give you a sense of inspiration? Those are the things. Are you making an impact in people's lives? Are you creating? Are you being creative? If you have a business and even if you have a corporate job, you will always be compensated directly in direct correlation with the amount of impact you make. Like, remember that. You will always be compensated for in direct relation to the amount of impact that you make with other humans. So, for example, business owners, if you feel like you're doing everything you possibly can, and it's like, doing your emails, setting up your automations, posting every so often, but you're not directly impacting people, you're just doing it like, let's just make more money, or like, you're not selling from a place like this inspires me. I want to actually impact your life. Like, if that's not rooted in part of your mission, you're probably not being compensated. And I don't just mean money, right? I don't just mean money in your bank account. There's been many opportunities that have come from this business that's got nothing to do with money, right? In your corporate job, like I work with my private clients that probably have half business, half corporate ladies. And the same thing I see is the more that they do this work and understand themselves, understand why they are the way they are, have a conscious awareness, what actually truly lights them up, what inspires them, what feels good in their nervous system. At the start, it may feel kind of scary because it's new, but what feels good overall and like you're coming home to yourself, they are directly compensated for that because they make more of an impact. Whether it's an impact to one person that they're leading or a team of 100, they make more of an impact and you get compensated from that. Opportunities, money in your bank account, cash in hand, materialistic items, you name it. And so I know I'm like going on like random rants, but I feel that this is like flowing through me. And I feel that whoever's watching this now, watching the replay, like you need to hear this, especially at time of recording. We are coming close towards the end of the year. I think there's like 6 weeks, 5.5 weeks now left of the year. And so I used to do this. I used to freak out and be like, I need to do this. I need to do that. I have failed at this. My goals need to be better and more and bigger next year. No, just like look at your intentions and I'm doing this. I have a container, only 2 spots left. It's called the Visionary 2025 Planning Edition. I go through, it's an intensive one-on-one mentorship. So it's not like, oh, let's look at your goals and like celebrate. Like, if you want a hype girl, yeah, I'll hype you up. I'm probably not the coach to hire. I'm the coach to hire when you want to get shit done. And this container, all the details in my show notes, link in bio, etc. But, the women that have come into this, I'll just give you some insight. One of the biggest words that have come up in this container of working on their 2025, we don't just work on goals, we work on who you are subconsciously and who your identity is. Because, like I said, you can have the best goals, you can have the best vision board in the entire world, you can have a beautiful journal, good to go. But if your subconscious identity doesn't match all of those things, you're always going to fall short. But one of the main words that is coming up with all of the ladies that have come into this container, and on Instagram, you can see on my stories all of the and highlights, I'm pretty sure, all of the testimonials, but the word is clarity. That's what I want you to make a theme for your life if you're watching this. Like, where can I get more clear on the relationship with myself? All of the things that you are avoiding doing and facing are the things you need to. And I know you've probably heard that before. I know you've probably heard that several times, but those things that you are avoiding facing and leaning into and understanding about yourself, those are the things that are going to tell you exactly what it means to come home to yourself, what it means to be inspired. On the podcast episode that I just did, and when just got off before this live around grief, I was saying it's so incredible because sometimes I forget to sit back and be like, I am exactly where I am meant to be to teach and to mentor and to share because it's inspiring. But what I also say on the other side of that, and I recently had this conversation to my sister, and for context, I'm 31 and my sister is 25. I say to her, 24. It doesn't mean that this is it forever. I think that we get stuck in this 3D physical world thinking we choose one thing and we need to see it through for the rest of our life. I don't know. Maybe in 5 years' time, I'll start being inspired and I want to study to be a doctor. Like I have no idea, right? Or maybe I'll pivot this business and I'll be working with different types of women. Like I have literally no idea. And I've always said that. I think that, sometimes I meet people who, in the same field have their own business. They're like, yep, I found my life thing. This is it. This is good to go forever. And that's it. It's not. Every day, every year is an invitation to explore yourself more, to understand yourself more, to understand your relationship to self, your relationship with money and abundance, your relationship with your spiritual and physical health, and your mental health, your relationship with other people, right? What isn't lining up? And so, a really tangible takeaway thing from this that I want you to go look at is, and I give this in many different forms, but honestly, it's the easiest, right? If you're not going to can't like, and if you're loving this, you're like, I need some support, I need some one-on-one, I want to dive in deep, 100% get inside the Visionary. It's 4 weeks, it's you and I one-on-one. It's intensive. So if you want something that's like laid back and chill, it's probably not for you. But yeah, I'm smiling so much because the women inside have done incredible things. But before that, what I want you to go away and do is like quite literally just get a piece of paper. That was a piece of paper. And let me get this. I'll do a little demonstration because sometimes I speak about this mainly on the podcast and I never show. Get a piece of paper, literally just split it up into 4 quadrants. Can every live see this? 4 quadrants. And I want you just to put the different areas of your life, right? So to make it so simplified is finances, relationships, business or career. If you have both, which sometimes people run a business, they also go to a corporate job, split it in half. That's fine. Don't complicate it. And then fitness, health, wellness, whatever you use, ask yourself the questions, go through it. What worked really well this year and what didn't work well? As simple as that. Sometimes we look for these like super complicated modalities and understandings and like things that we need to do to like get the no. your job now is just to build the relationship that you have with yourself, build the understanding you have of yourself, build your intuition, build your self-trust, the foundation of self-trust. And part of that is actually being able to reflect on this year and ask yourself, what went really, really well? Amazing. Do I want to keep that in? Okay, how can I 10x it for next year? And I don't mean 10x it in like, let's work harder. And like, if that's your conditioning, like that's a belief system to work through. It's not that. It's like, how can I refine it to be even more effective, to create even more impact? And then in the what didn't work well, then you start to look at, can I eliminate it? Like, do I even need this in my life? Can I delegate it? Or is there a way, because I do really want to keep it and like it's a value to me, is there a way to do this in a more inspiring way? Right? Because sometimes you can't eliminate it, you can't delegate it, or maybe you don't have the resources at this point in time to delegate it, or it's not a thing to delegate, but you want to keep it in your life, that's fine. But I urge you, those things, that's the answer. Those are the things that you're keeping that are holding you back or are keeping you in the same reality, keeping you experiencing this human experience exactly the same. So those are the things, like, how can I do this through a filter of inspiration? That's what I want you to do. And like, share it with me, let me know, even like put it on your story, tag me, put it in the comments below, like comment here on Instagram, on like whatever it is, let me know how you go with that. But I promise, what were the 4 quadrants? Okay, just to run through it again for everyone, can all my lives see? So to make it so simplified, we go finances. Actually, I might, here what I'll do is let me write it and then I'll hold it to all of my cameras and you guys can take a screenshot. It might just be easier. Biz or, oh, my pen's running out. I'm not close to another one. And health. Okay, so just hold it to Instagram first. Take a screenshot, TikTok, and YouTube. So with the biz, this side, with the biz or career, what I always say is one or the other. But if you have both, just split the quadrant in half and do for both. But also, if you are in that position, I've had this conversation with clients, just get honest on why you still have both, why you haven't gone all in your business. And again, I don't mean like quit it all and just go all in and step in your power, like every Instagram guru is saying, but like just genuinely get curious. Like, why haven't you chosen one or the other to put your time and energy and effort into just one section, right? Yes, we are multifaceted, but just be very honest where you're distributing your energy. So this was a lot longer than I thought it would be, but I really felt like I needed to say all that. And I hope that whoever's watched this in live, whoever's going to be watching the replay, that this has helped you in some capacity. And I hope that this has given you some insight on things to start to look for and work on as we enter a new year. But if you're watching this middle of the year in 2028, the same things apply, right? And I just believe that everyone is here to live inspiring, wealthy, fun life. Like, if it's not fun, what's the point? If you're doing something right now, it's not fun. If you're in a relationship, it's not fun. If your health journey, like your workouts, is not fun, but it's a value to you, how can you bring the fun into it? Like, life, like, I'm gonna sound cliche, but life is too freaking short. Anyway, I appreciate every single one of you that joins live. I can see across all the different platforms. And yeah, any other questions, just let me know in the comments across platforms. But ways to work with me, show notes below, link in bio over on Instagram and TikTok. And the visionary, I think it might just be on my stories on Instagram, but it's 4 weeks, 2025 planning edition. We go through your entire plan meticulously with intentions for 2025. But also, we go into your subconscious programming, your identity around your relationship with money, your relationships in general, and how you perceive yourself. because that's exactly, oh, meta thumbs up, because that's exactly at the root of what I'm saying. The way you perceive yourself will give you an indication, like your results, it will give you an indication to how you perceive yourself and whether or not it's going to serve you in the long run. Okay, I am going to go. Thank you so much. Let me turn this one off. Thank you so much for everyone that is joining. Any questions, slide into my DMs on Instagram, and I hope that this helped. I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Bye, Instagram.